What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
This is where I find that the Dean and McGill University failed compared to other universities who were able to find a solution and a peaceful way, because that's what people expect. UQAM, there was a negotiation, others, University Brown in the United States as well, they were able to find a way. So I expect the university, McGill University, to revise their strategy.
Wow. When I first heard that, James MENNIE at the Montreal Gazette, Jim, I thought to myself, how out of touch are her staff to help her through this by suggesting she bring up Brown University in, of all places, Rhode Island, saying that they managed to get this done peacefully, when a day ago, the University of Toronto managed to do exactly what McGill is trying to do now. They got an injunction. Theirs ended peacefully because police showed up, and completely ignore that one. I don't know. Am I overreacting to this, Jim? Because I think this is ridiculous.
No, I think there's a very strange kind of double standard being applied here when it comes to the McGill occupation. You could also turn around and say that in the Canadian context, as you pointed out, U of T, they cleared out before the cops showed up. University of Calgary, University of Edmonton, both of them were nipped in the bud. The cops showed up even before the first full day, and those things were taken down. UQAM did negotiate. I'm surprised she didn't mention that. But what I'm even more surprised about, I will beg the pardon of the reporters who were there at this presser today, if they did ask her this question, I'd love to hear the answer. But how is it that City of Montreal fire inspectors can shut down a bunch of restaurants in the middle of Grand Prix weekend because of violations, but when they go and try to enforce the fire code at the McGill encampment, they're told to go to hell and say, okay, we'll try and come back later.
Yeah.
Why are they giving them a free pass? Who the hell is signing off? Is this hands-off policy coming directly from the mayor's office? Is it coming directly from the office of Fatty Laguerre, the chief of police? Because there's something here that's starting to stink. And it's not just perhaps the human excrement that apparently is being stored or reportedly being stored at the site. There seems to be a force field around the McGill encampment, which is being fed and powered by Montreal City Hall and the Montreal Police Department. I will hasten to add the high command of the Montreal Police Department. So this idea that, Valerie Plante is wagging her finger at McGill, and yeah, you know what? McGill has got a lot to answer for. McGill's have been slow off the mark on any number of crises that has beset it over the course of this year. But quite frankly, for the mayor of Montreal to shake her finger, oh yes, and also try and grab drag in the provincial government by saying, well, yeah, the provincial government doesn't want to have university encampments, but somehow homeless encampments are okay. This isn't a matter of tit for tat or like I say, pointing the finger. This is a matter of dealing with the problem. And quite frankly, I have no idea what sparked Valerie Plante's criticism of the administration of McGill. They are open to criticism, but in this particular instance, as far as I can tell, they've been following the rules. Maybe not as quickly as a lot of people would have liked, but they're still keeping to the book. They're still seeking an injunction. Very, very strange for the mayor to say, especially when, as far as I can tell, the occupiers of Victoria Square, which is City of Montreal, public territory, were being, as far as I know, as innocuous as those at McGill.
So a couple of points there. Number one, I will point out with respect to McGill and basically saying, and I think the quote was McGill failed. These were the mayor's words. She also seemed to criticize McGill for going the legal route to get these people off their land, which I found stunning. That's kind of like saying, you know what, you should just gone in and bust it up, but now you're going to try to get a legal ruling and get an injunction to get them to leave. I thought that was completely nonsensical.
Well, I know, but once again, like I said, there seems to be a déploiement de mesures, as we say in these parts, and I hope we can get to the bottom of it. But as I say, when I saw the report Thursday that City of Montreal fire inspectors had been kicked off the McGill encampment with impunity, I was kind of wondering who the hell's in charge here.
Yeah. I think that's a fair question to ask. And this idea now, we're going tit for tat, provincial government, municipal government, kind of pointing fingers at each other. And as you said, Jim, for the mayor to now look to Quebec City and say, you know what, basically, don't tell us what to do. We handle our own affairs, and we're doing a pretty good job of it. I mean, I don't know what's going on, to your point. I've never seen this before.
Of all the stupid things to have, of all the issues to have a power play over, this strikes me as completely ridiculous. And as I say, I don't see any huge differences between the Victoria Square encampment and the McGill encampment, but somehow it didn't take the cops and City Hall to shut down Victoria Square, and yet somehow it seems that what is essentially a squatting operation on the property of McGill University seems to be okay.
Yeah, I want to get off this, but you're right, because she also said in her statement today, it's okay to demonstrate this is a democracy, this is the society we live in, but not to excess. Well, apparently the excess is what, they were there for a week or two? These guys have been there for 2 months. How does that make any sense?
I know.
Okay.
And remember, you're talking to a guy who was the first one to say, Francois Legault, don't stick your beak into Montreal Police Department operations, and I still stand by that. But all that said, I can't understand how police can be deployed to clear out what, to all intents and purposes, was a peaceful occupation of a public space, and yet seem to be unable to move 1 inch when it comes to the equally, I guess, peaceful occupation of a semi-public space.
All right, we're going to leave it at that because I want to get to this Marc Garneau story. I haven't talked about this at all today, and I'm reading some of the quotes. I read these this morning, and this is pretty eye-opening to me, Jim. So for people wondering, Marc Garneau, of course, was part of Justin Trudeau's government. There were a couple of issues where he decided to leave. One of them was, I guess he lost one of his jobs. He'd had a couple of jobs within the government, including Foreign Affairs Ministry, done transport as well. He's not mincing words, calling out Justin Trudeau. Are you surprised by this? I'm going to read some of the quotes, but I'm wondering, overall, were you surprised to read this?
Not at all. In fact, I was wondering when we knew it was going to happen, Aaron. You and I had this conversation when Marc Garneau left politics. We knew he was being very, very discreet. He was keeping his mouth shut. There wasn't any kind of vitriol. Now, and he still hasn't held a press conference, turn around and say, Justin Trudeau doesn't know what he's doing. No, but what he's done is he's written his autobiography. And lest we forget, Marc Garneau was the first Canadian in space, and I will be first in line to pick up that book, not because of the political stuff, but because this man has had such an extraordinary life and brought such, how can I put it, such honor to this country with his achievements. But that said, the last third of his book, which is dedicated to his political career, is absolutely devastating to Justin Trudeau. He points out that, and in many cases, the Conservatives in the past have said that Trudeau internationally is a lightweight. He loves to go to these conferences. He loves to take selfies. He loves to make these pronouncements that go nowhere. But in fact, it's all smoke and mirrors. The guy's in over his head, doesn't have a clue. Well, essentially, Marc Garneau is saying the same thing. He's saying, I am one of the 4 or 5 or 6 foreign ministers that this government has chewed through since it assumed office. And the message you're sending out to the world is that this is not a priority for you. This is not a big deal for you, foreign policy. So if you don't seem serious on the international stage, and no one could accuse Justin Trudeau of appearing serious on the international stage, guess what? No one is going to consider your country a factor. And there was a time we were considered a middle power. We were considered, a plain dealer, whatever. That seems to be gone. And it's not that we have, gone left or right or in a particular orbit of some other country. The assessment that Mr. Garneau seems to be giving us is that we don't count. We're irrelevant. We're just these airheads who needn't be taken into account on any major files at the international level. He says Trudeau's strategy with China, with India, were disasters. And with everything else that has been going on in this past month alone, Aaron, you have to wonder when we're going to hit critical mass. Either Trudeau is finally going to sink through, that it's time to go, or whether there will be a full-blown, in-your-face palace revolution, and the caucus is going to get together and say, this guy has absolutely got to go. He is an anchor around our neck, and he is increasingly becoming an embarrassment and, to a certain extent, a death sentence for liberalism in Canada.
I want to read just one clip. So you're right. This is or one quote rather from the last part of his book. Now the book's not going to be released, I think, for another couple of months. They say not till October, but it says this is Marc Garneau, a quote. Unfortunately, Canada's standing in the world has slipped in part because our pronouncements are not always matched by a capacity to act or by actions that clearly demonstrate that we mean what we say. We are losing credibility. Jim, I want to ask you, because you said you were waiting for this to happen. You knew this was kind of coming. Do you think some people can react to this as sour grapes after it was dropped from the Trudeau cabinet and kind of figured this would be coming?
Actually, no. Well, first of all, we knew that there was a lot of bad blood between Marc Garneau and Justin Trudeau. He had been dropped without explanation from cabinet. Remember, he had challenged Trudeau. He had made, I guess, the unpardonable sin of challenging Justin Trudeau for the leadership of the Liberal Party. Trudeau had won. He gave Trudeau his support. But there was no question that the manner that Trudeau got rid of Marc Garneau was the kind of treatment you reserve for people who betrayed the cause. And I don't think Marc Garneau gave any indication of having done that. I think Marc Garneau had been a good soldier, although, frankly, I prefer to say he's a good sailor. He retired a captain in the Royal Canadian Navy. And you just get the impression that there may have been, listen, I know Justin Trudeau's ego is pretty big and he wants to be a game changer. It's tough to go up against the first Canadian in space. It's tough to go up to go up against an astronaut who then went into politics and did very, very well. It's really, really tough to deal with that. And once again, I'll use my historian saying, who will historians be talking about, even 50 years from now? Will Marc Garneau get more mention than Justin Trudeau? Quite frankly, as a betting man and as a student of history, I'd say yes.
The last quote, and we'll let this go. The Trudeau government, this is according to Marc Garneau, he says, is overall too reactive and ill-prepared. It is not sufficient to pay attention only when a concern arises, something this government has made a habit of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
all there.
It's all there.
They don't think of the long game. They think of the quick hit, the selfie, the
sound
tweet,
bite,
whatever. Yeah. That's not how you run. That's not how you run foreign policy. It never was.
That's where we got to leave it today. Jim, thank you so much. You have a great summer, because the last time we'll be chatting for a while. So take it easy, okay?
Okay, you too, buddy.